Welcome to Baby Dribble, proudly sponsored by SweetDreamers. Baby Dribble is a fun, friendly and free parenting advice channel.
Welcome back to the Baby Dribble podcast, and this week we are discussing everything gender reveals and expectations of having a particular gender. So this podcast comes as Lucy has just found out the gender of her second child, and we were having discussions on whether Lucy was hoping for a particular gender. So does the gender of her first child impact the hope of the gender for her second child? And all these gender related things. So let's get on. So gender preference. Hi Lucy, by the way. Hello. Thanks for joining us today. So is it outdated, do you think, to assume that men want boys and women want girls? What's the general consensus out there?
Yeah. Well, actually, we were having the discussion just before we came in. So I was asking the boys in the office, when you were expecting, did you want a boy? Just to, get it out there. Yes or no. And the answer was yes. So I don't think it's outdated, really, to think that men want boys and women want girls. But I don't think that's obviously the case for everybody, obviously. But because I didn't particularly want a girl the first time round, I was quite happy with the idea of a boy. So I think, I don't know, it's a difficult one, isn't it? But yeah, as a rule, I think men generally would like a boy first and women tend to want girls. It's just what we know, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I know what you're saying though, because with myself, I didn't really mind what the gender was, but then as I sort of slowly got further and further down the line, I'd had 4 boys. It was like, oh, I'm gonna have another baby. I wonder, if I will get a girl this time. And then obviously it was a little girl. But if it had been a boy, I wouldn't have been like devastated, thinking, oh gosh. And then obviously I went on to have my 6th child, and that was another boy, and it was all fine. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? So what are some of the reasons that you may be swaying to want a particular gender over the other?
Oh, I think there could be so many reasons why you want one particular gender. So it either could be your first baby and you are either used to nephews or used to nieces. So in that sense, you just feel more comfortable with that idea, because it could be really nerve-wracking if you think, oh God, I don't know how to play football and I don't know how to play with dollies, or vice versa. So I think that could be a reason. Could be the other reason is it maybe you're one of 4 sisters or something. A bit like your boys, you've got 5 boys together.
Yeah.
So as a rule, I imagine they probably want their kids to have the brother relationship, maybe. So they might be hoping for 2 boys or vice versa. So I think there could be so many reasons. You've also got to remember as well that people might be having babies like later in life. So say, I don't want to give an age and make it sound like it's but say you were 40 and you're having your first baby, it might well be your only baby that you're going to have. So in that sense, you might really be hoping for a particular gender. So I just think there's so many reasons why you might want one gender over another, whether it is something that people say out loud or keep to themselves. I think you tend to, unless you really don't want to know, then that's fine. But I think it would be silly to assume that people don't want a particular
preference. What about finding out about the gender? I mean, is that a good idea?
Well, I've done both now. So I didn't find out with my first, but found out with my second, and both were lovely. I do tend to find that my parents and my parents-in-law, they don't tend to want to know. And I don't know if that's because when they had us, they couldn't find out. And I didn't even realise they barely got any scans when they were pregnant. So I was like, oh gosh, didn't you? I was like, oh, I don't know what I'd do without the scans. They're like the milestones that I look towards. But I do tend to find that my parents, they don't tend to want to know. So I don't know if it's a generational thing that now we can find out. we have to find out sometimes. But yeah, I enjoyed both, to be honest. So
I didn't find out with any of mine. And then you are right, towards the end, when I was on like with Amy and Brad, they then said, do you want to know the gender? And I said, no, I don't want to know. So I didn't know with any of them. So you then obviously got to have it's a boy, it's a girl.
And that is lovely. That is lovely. When Mason was born, it was a really nice moment when we were like, and
the big reveal at the end after all that hard work you put in.
Exactly. Yeah, that is one part, all the hard work, and then you get the lovely surprise at the end. So yeah, either is quite nice.
So why do you think people would want to find out, parents? Why would you want to find out the gender?
Okay, yeah, I think this is another one. There could be so many reasons why you want to find out, couldn't there? For me, I wanted to find out this time because my first was early. So trying to be organised and efficient, I wanted to find out what this one was so I could get the clothes, get the room ready, and just be really super organised. But then some people want to find out, I think, as well, for maybe a bit, if they are going to be disappointed, they can get themselves prepared. So say maybe you do have 3 boys and you are desperate for a girl, maybe, or vice versa, you've got 3 girls and you really want a boy. I think you can maybe just mentally prepare yourself if you find out. But
months.
There can be so many reasons.
Yes. What about gender disappointments and pressure? So have you got any tips for handling that at all? Please.
So when you go on to, when I was looking this up, again, it does actually happen. So whether people are saying it out loud or not, people are disappointed.
Behind closed doors, yes.
Behind closed doors, they might have a little conversation with their other half, you've discussed maybe what you want and it didn't happen this time. So gender disappointment is a definite thing. So I looked at like maybe ways that you can help with it. So basically it's always best to acknowledge and accept any negative feelings. So keeping it under wraps and not talking to someone about it is basically just going to result in negative thoughts yourself, and you're just going to wind yourself up a little bit. It's best to just, maybe I didn't get the boy. Let's talk about it and move on. And also, I thought this is a really good reason was to try and pinpoint why you feel disappointed. So you might not know, but it could be something really. Actually, we touched on it earlier. So maybe you don't think you know how to play with a boy because you're so used to girls, or maybe you've got so many sisters and you think, oh God, what do you do with a boy? And again, that could come from being nervous because you're either a first-time mum and you just think that you won't know what to do. But I suppose what I know from my nieces and nephews is that they don't always, girls don't always play with dollies, and boys don't always play with footballs and things like that. They tend to cross over all the time. So hopefully that will help in your, if that's a reason, that would help, that they don't always go to gender stereotypes eventually. Yeah, maybe. And typically, this is from a survey that was done in the UK. Gender disappointment tends to only last until the day your baby's born. So hopefully that would help. Once your baby's born, you really tend to, the gender doesn't really make a difference. It's also lovely. And once they're in your arms, you can't even tell what they are anyway to begin with. People always say to you, oh, is that a boy? And you're like, no, it's a girl.
They put her in pink stuffs just so that you know.
Massive bow on her head so you know it's a girl. But yeah, and I think that's probably quite true. Once they start to get their little personality and they're all bundled up and they're all really cute, I don't think I think the disappointment would subside quite quickly.
I think I agree with that. So what about if it's the second, third, fourth baby? Is there any baby gender pressure then? If you first have a boy it's all girls. Do you think there's pressure there?
I think there definitely is. I personally felt a bit of pressure. We were discussing it last week before I found out what I was having this time, that there was such pressure to have a girl this time that I felt like I was going to disappoint everybody if I had a second boy. And I actually did bring it up with a few people like in my family, because we'll laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, if I have a boy, then you'll just have to get on with it, and it's just like, there's nothing I can do about it. You get what you're given, don't you? So yes, I definitely think there's pressure out there, and if and again, you must know, if you had all your boys, and people must have been like, do you want a girl?
I know. It's like, well, I don't mind if I have a boy. I mean, if I have a girl,
exactly,
that would be nice, but
definitely. I do think there's an odd pressure. And from talking to my mum, she said that back when she was pregnant, you didn't really discuss gender. And I was like, oh, didn't you not? I said it's really like quite, as soon as you know you're pregnant, and as soon as other people know you're pregnant, it's what do you want, what you're going to have, how do you feel, and stuff like that. So I said, definitely, I think there's been a shift maybe over the last few years or so. I think it's because we can find out now. That's the thing. So
carrot dangled, haven't you, of being able to find out.
And it's so easy. You can have scans 16 weeks, and then they can give you all these things, and you can announce it, and it was great. But they just make it so easy for you now. So it's difficult.
What you did, Lucy? You had like
so we went into the scan
package or whatever it's called.
And you had to close your eyes when they were looking at that part of the baby. So it could be very obvious. And then when they put it into a little envelope, and we walked out, and then we got one of the pink or blue cannons that fire it out. And they pick the cannon for you, so you don't have to know what your baby is.
Like a plain coloured cannon.
I inspect
no hint. Cannon,
and there's no hint on there as to what's inside. And then so you can find out with everybody else. So it's they make it too easy for you to know, and make it all lovely.
Too tempting. It's all too tempting.
It's all too tempting, definitely.
Oh, gosh. But what about going back to, like you were saying about your mum, the old wives' tales, the gender predictors? How accurate do you think they are?
I love gender predictors. I know that not everyone does, but I love it. Like, I think it's hilarious as well when people try and guess before you know. And I like to put people in and say, what do you think? But I do also know other people that really don't like it, and you can't do it, and that's fine. But yes, so apparently none of them are accurate at all. So
we got really a 50-50 chance anyway.
Basically. But if we were to do it based on mine this time, it was spot on. So now I'm just going to be a pain with it every time. So the ones that we like, these are the ones that are quite common, what people will say to you. So we've got the baby's heartbeat, which you tend to hear at about 16 weeks or within midwife. So if the heartbeat is over 140 beats per minute, it's a girl. And if it's under, it's a boy. But according to the NHS, that doesn't work. So
I like particularly good indicator. No.
My mum always does this one, when you put a ring over the bed.
Oh wow, yes, I know. What, on like a piece of cotton or something. Yes,
and I think it's maybe their wedding ring or something like that. And if it's in circular motions, it's a girl, and if it goes back and forth, it's a boy.
Wow.
And your mum could probably, try and get it the way that she wants. If you're carrying high, so if you're like really high up, it's a girl, and if it's low, it's a boy. Spontaneous acne, so if you start to get spots.
I've never heard that one before. No.
There is some slight truth, or not truth, but truth in the next two, actually. So the acne and severe morning sickness. So if you are carrying a girl, you have a higher level of HCG, which is high, tends to be higher in girls.
Okay.
And that can affect morning sickness, because if you have more of it, then it's more severe. But if you've got a boy, then it'll be less. Also with the acne, it tends to bring out like all your like blemishes and things, spots. So then they are slightly more accurate.
Yeah. Imagine if you had both of those and then a boy. You like convinced yourself you were.
And that's what, you know what? We probably got people listening and they're like, well, I had all of that and I've got a boy. So I don't think you can. I wouldn't base your gender on these things.
Do the whole of the nursery blue, buy all of the blue boys' clothes, and then yeah, you haven't.
I enjoy it, but I know lots of people that hate it. So don't ask someone if they want to know.
So what we actually did, though, we did our poll, didn't we, on the Instagram, and all our followers that took part, and we asked them their experiences on everything to do with gender. And we actually had an overwhelming response. So thank you to everybody that took part in the poll. And these are the results. So the first question we asked was, did you find out what you were expecting when you were pregnant?
Yeah, I thought this was quite an interesting one, just because I do know a lot of people do find out. But of our poll, 74% said yes and 26% said no. Okay. So more people do find out these days than not. So I suppose at least the guessing game's gone for you after that point. Yeah,
quite a reasonable amount that said no, wasn't it? It was a quarter. Quite a lot for nowadays, like you say, because it's so tempting to be able to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
Managed to resist the temptation.
Well done, you guys. I couldn't do it this time, unfortunately.
Oh gosh. And so for the second question, we asked, were you hoping for a particular gender?
Yeah, so 41% said yes.
Wow.
And 59% said no. So whether that is in relation to women wanting girls or men wanting boys, that's not really clear. But that is a good 50-50, really.
Actually,
that we're hoping for. At least if we're all honest, we all know that we all maybe are hoping for something and we might not get it. So,
And then we had our third question. If you found out, were you happy with your gender? So after you've found out, what did they say there then?
So this one, either everybody was really lucky because got 92% said yes, so they all found out and they were all happy with what they were expecting. But 92 said yes and 8% said no. But that does sound quite low. But when I translated it into the amount of people, it was 51 people that said they were happy with their gender. So it definitely happens, and people are disappointed. So hopefully those people, we're able to do the things that we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Talk about it, and then hopefully they resolved it in their minds. And then had it
at the end of the 9 months, I'm sure. The other. Yeah. And our final question, this is an interesting one, did you feel pressure from friends and family to have a particular gender? Because you were touching on that earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely. 26% people said yes and 74% said no. But again, I translated it into the amount of people that actually answered the poll. And 211 people said yes to the feeling pressure from friends and family. Yeah. So
doesn't it? Yeah.
It just shows you either it could be slight comments, or it could be outright, we want you to have this gender, or maybe it could be to do with maybe the fact that maybe they have a girl or they have a boy, so maybe they want you to have the same.
And but also, still, I know what you're saying, and also how they would feel in your shoes. They sort of put themselves in your shoes. Like if you were to have, say, like you said, 3 girls, I bet you want a boy, because they're thinking that's what they would want.
Exactly. Yeah. So it could be really quite harmless and just a passing comment, but to you're a bit like, and you get your a little bit. But I definitely didn't. I was like, How dare they? But yeah, I think it's just good to know that maybe there's other people maybe that feel the pressure.
Yeah.
And it could be down to your personality as well. Some people can shake things off, can't they? And if someone says, oh, do you want that, they'll be like, no, and they don't think about it again. Whereas other people take things to heart, don't they? So yeah, just be maybe mindful of who you're talking to.
Yes, I'm not talking to you just yet. You keep out of my way for the next 8
That's
months.
it, yeah.
Or 9 months.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting poll just to see what other people felt. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Brilliant. So, well, thanks, Lucy, for coming on and sharing all the gender information. And interesting. So, are you revealing to our podcast listeners what your gender revealed?
Okay, yes. So this time I am expecting a girl.
Wow, so many congratulations. So now you've got one of each, haven't you?
One of each, yeah. Apparently that's what everyone wants. So there you go.
They've got the perfect pair, you see.
Perfect pair. There you go. But yes, we're very, very excited. So yeah, baby girl. All the pink, all the frills and the bows. I can't wait.
I'm going to be going bow crazy.
You'll know that mine's a girl.
Oh, fabulous. So, well, thanks everybody for listening, and all this information that we've been talking about today, all the content, you can find that on the Sweet Dreamers blog and also on our Sweet Dreamers YouTube channel. So, as I say, thanks for listening and hope to see you again next time. Take care then. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, really hope you enjoyed this episode of Sweet Dreamers Baby Dribble. If you did, please share and pass it on and let us know what you think.